Hi, this is Mark News from Plant Talk Radio. Thanks for subscribing and listening to our podcast, Your Gardening Questions from Plant Talk Radio. To help keep this podcast free for you, we're partnering with Stokes Seeds. The 2017 Gardening Guide catalogs are hitting mailboxes everywhere. Request your catalog today online at stokeseeds.com or view virtual catalogs online. This fully secure site makes it easy to order your free catalog or your seeds or gardening accessories. More than just a listing of vegetable and flower seeds, Stokes Seeds' website is a complete resource center with valuable information on starting seeds, planting, and harvesting, plus all the gardening accessories you need to make your garden the envy of the neighborhood. Get growing with Stokes. We'll have more from Stokes Seeds in the next few weeks. Right now, today's question. Kevin from Northeast Ohio writes in, he says, when and how to prune a 3-year-old wisteria that is going wild?
Yeah, wisteria is a tricky plant. Once it's established and does get to blooming stage, is a wonderful plant. It takes several years on a wisteria to bloom often, and that's partly what I was saying earlier. It gets established, so it's concentrating on root growth, getting established, and then you are seeing all that top growth. Again, skip the fertilizing unless it looks pale, the leaves aren't as green as you would like. You may not need any fertilizer, or go with a half rate and a granular fertilizer. What I would do is you can prune back those really long, and you can tell they're not as woody. They're just fresh, new growth. Prune those back here in the winter. I would wait a little while, but once you get later, February, March, you can kind of prune those back so you're back to the more woody part of the plant, and then kind of train what comes out of that onto the structure, presumably, if you have an arbor or wherever you want it to grow. Do selective. You can remove any of those long trailing kind of growth at any time and just keep the ones you want and guide them where you want them to go. So spring is fine to do that, and then back off the fertilizer. That's one where don't necessarily give any extra water. As long as we get normal rainfall, it'll be fine. The only reason to give the wisteria more water would be in a drought condition. But again, that more water, more fertilizer is just going to pump more and more of that long kind of weak growth rather than more solid woody growth that you want.
And when he does prune, what's the maximum amount that you would take off on a wisteria?
Yeah. Well, on those fresh green tendrils as they are, I think any of that can come off and just leave the ones you want. And then you generally are not pruning into the woody material, certainly not on a 3-year-old plant. Maybe 10, 15 years, you'll be pruning more into that woody material, but right now, no need to worry about that. One little tip when the plant is mature, if it is not blooming, and you'd have to read up, because just to be careful how you do this, but you can root prune a wisteria to sort of force it into bloom. It can help. And that's that same thing. You give it a little bit of shock, in effect. I'd be totally comfortable doing it, but definitely read up on it. But you can actually circle around the root area with a spade, and actually you would be carefully cutting through some of the roots, and it can actually help. A lot of people later on than 3 years will say, my wisteria is not blooming, and that's a little trick where you can root prune and help encourage the blooming.
Hey, thanks again for listening to the podcast. Remember, your 2017 Gardening Guide catalogs are available now. If you want one delivered to your home, go to stokeseeds.com. For the best selection of vegetable, flower, and herb seeds available, go to stokeseeds.com. Cultivating successful growers for generations.